Good morning, Solaris 7. Welcome to the podcast number 2, the Calgary Battletech League for season 2021. We are happy to welcome you all back after a brief hiccup of our bi-weekly podcast where we cover news, blues, and anything but Lee's shoes.
Oh, come on, man. My shoes aren't that bad.
Yeah, your shoes aren't that bad. They just smell bad.
Better than your game. All right, well, starting off today with a synopsis of last week's matchups. Match 1 was fought in the Wooded Hills Arena between Carstairs Stables and the Macross Stables. Carstairs Stables pulled a 1-0 victory out of that one. And, ladies and gentlemen, I would have had a nice conversation at each match about all the kills and great things that happened. However, I have an inch-thick stack of paperwork that I can't make heads or tails over whose mechs is whose. So next game day, we will be having boulders for each of the players to be able to keep your mechs in so we can keep them organized. One thing I did notice on the back of a lot of the mech sheets is a real lack of keeping track of weapons fire and damages. And I see here that a lot of people did use the sheets provided by John on that, but we do have to do our best to keep track of our hits and crits as best as possible so that we can cover any possible arguments and have a nice clean weekly end game after action report. But we'll continue on with the show and see how well we do. All right, match 2. We saw the new kids on the block, the Crimson Ronin, face off against the 55th Shadow Division in the Area 4, the River Valley. The Ronin were off to an early lead by headcap and the shootist, and then followed that up with some ammo go boom in the 55th's Victor. After that, it came down to the Banshee with a naked legs and the Cicada bringing down the last mech standing. I believe that was the Atlas. 4-2 victory for the 55th. Brett, any comment on that match?
That match seemed to go really smooth. Both players were laughing and smiling and having a good day. It seemed like it was just a really good, enjoyable, let's blow some stuff up.
Good. Glad to hear it. In our third match of the week, we saw the Dracona Spirits face off against the late-to-submit name Killer Bunnies. That stable manager should be reprimanded, though I don't think we're going to let Brett handle that one. Maybe John. He's better with a wet noodle. In the Plains of Death Arena number 10. Jacques?
Oh, not a lot of death and destruction in these two lances. The ladies from the FR managed to come away with a 2-0 win. Looked like it was a good, clean game. Both sides had a good time, and that's what's important.
Match 4, we see the Inherjar. Inherjar? We'll never pronounce it right. The only people who can pronounce that are people who obviously have very loose tongues. They face off against Riston's Rogues over some very difficult ground. Field 11 was one of the 2 tie games today, as a matter of fact. The Inherjar Dragonfire was digging in the dirt with his cockpit, looking for loot with those flip arms, while the KTO ammo went boom, boom, boom. Match 5 saw the returning Cavalier Commandos schooling one of the newer comers about the joys of rivers as the first Clovis Lancers moved around the river basin. I do remember hearing somebody commenting on how much they hate rivers. The Cavaliers win 1-0 when they took the head off the Lancers Devastator. I think you might have watched that match a bit, Brett. Anything to comment on?
That was a really good match where, again, it was just a couple of people having a really good game and complaining more about I don't even think there was any complaining going on. Just making statements about the fact that a map covered in rivers kind of sucks, in the sense that it's just difficult to deal with. That'll lead us into some of people's mech choices this year and potentially skilling to get an extra jumper into their lance.
Yeah, and I have to say, I saw a lot of smiling faces. I think people are just happy to be out playing. Next game day, we won't be seeing any smiling faces as the new provincial mandates are that we're going to have to wear masks, but at least we still get to play people. Hopefully they can keep that up for the rest of the season. Match 6 is the Red Suns Regulars versus Hubris Inc. There's a scheduling conflict here, but when the teams were able to march up to the mountain lakes, it turned into a real throwdown showdown. 4-3 victory for the Hubris Pink Mechs. Match 7, the Blitzkrieg Jezebels and Merrick's Marauders went all out. Way out of town to the Pavement Packing Reaches Arena. It's one of our custom maps, and the only game to be played this week on the customs. I'm supposed to say a little bit about this game, and how everybody failed to achieve victory. However, I did get to sleep in my own bed, and I'm pretty sure there was no glass in my coffee the next morning. So the game actually went about the best I could have hoped for.
It's called self-preservation, Lee. You did good.
Clan 8, Clan Cobra! Chickens versus the Executive Outcome duked it out on another pavement-friendly arena, and these pirates went at each other right from the get-go. One of the only complaints I heard about this map, 0 cover. We might have to look to see if we can upgrade that a little bit, but either way, it was a good match. I'm not sure how it came about, but the Banshee spent a good chunk of the time sleeping on the tarmac, while the outcome was a 3-2 executive decision. Jacques, anything you want to say?
It was a hard-fought match. It was two titans, one from the top, one from the bottom, going at it, trying to see who's going to get to be where in the standings. And it was ugly. It was ugly. There were multiple times where executive outcomes mechs were tagged by both of the LRM packs out of the Archer with all the missiles. So it was a huge amount of angry bees being released. Headshots everywhere. While there was a lot of damage dealt, it was spread out all over the place. But it was a good, hard-fought fight.
Like I said, I knew it was going to be a good game, but I made a little bit of cash on the side on that one. Yes, I'm pretty sure everybody had that one pegged, but I don't think they were thinking it was going to be that close. I actually think you might have beat the over-under on that one, Jacques. Squeaking in the last match of round 1, the Ghost Legion saw the Shite Hawks on the Plains of Death. John, anything you want to say about the team names?
Ghost Legion, now if they're actually one of the Ghost Legions, I'm not going to mess with them because I really don't want to mess with the Yakuza. And Shite Hawks. Interesting. Unique. But interesting.
And that's the end of the main games. Brett, do you have a comment on the game you played last night?
I can just give a synopsis on it. It was very much a long-range exchange where the Warhammer, the Wolf Trap, and the Gunslinger found some woods on turn 3 and didn't move from there for the rest of the game. As we expect, those Wolverines are very much leaders of the show. They will take any match that they're going on, so they should usually be pretty high priority targets.
And the Shite Hawks mechs, from what I saw in the pictures you sent me, put up a decent fight. There's a lot of flanking going on with the Phoenix Hawk, and the mechs unfortunately couldn't take down your Wolverine. Looks like they made a good attempt at that, though the Dervish may want to invest in some mental shielding to avoid some head hits.
Yeah, that pilot knocked himself 3 times in the face.
Ugh.
I thought it was John on the other side of the table.
And in the end, the Ghost Legion pulled out a 1-0 win, which could have been very easily a tie if they'd been able to focus on that Wolverine near the end.
The Wolverine went 3 turns with only 2 points of right torso internal structure left. All it needed was something to connect and it would have been dead.
Oh, wow. Well, that's the end of last week's updates. Now, our man on the scene, Jacques, do you have any awards for this week?
Oh, let me see what I can come up with. Well, first things first is we have a head cap. That gets the deleted Thank You for Playing award. I'm going to unfortunately have to focus in on the 2 pirates. Ballin', but at what cost? The Cobra Chickens had command of it, seizing the initiative, seizing everything, putting some good damage on target. But then there was that one time they lost the initiative, and that seemed where it would go down for them. They still managed to pull a 3-2 kill score out of it, but in the loss column for them and a win for the executive outcomes. The one that I really want to point out here is Hubris. That is going to be one of the players to watch for. Mackenzie is an awesome player. She's an awesome person. She's going to be one of the ones. So a lot of you veterans better watch out that she doesn't come up from behind you and take you out on her way to the top. Back to you guys.
Right on. Thanks, Jacques. You did miss it's up and it's good. Heather's did actually kick off the head of my Centurion in a last-ditch suicidal run to try to get some damage put on her Devastator. I knew it was coming. There's nothing I could do about it, but she was darn happy to roll that 6. We will be then moving on to a interview with Stephen of the 55th Shadow Division, which is the longest range communications we're going to be doing this year, as he has to travel all the way down from Edmonton each game day. Go ahead, Stephen. Introduce yourself and your team name.
Hi, my name is Stephen Barton. I'm from just south of Edmonton, and my team name is the 55th Shadow Division, which is Empusa's Scions of Hate.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for introducing yourself. So I have a few questions for our listening audience, and we'll go through them one by one. First one, what on earth are you driving all the way to Calgary for a Battletech League?
Well, I mean, it's all a matter of like it's all perception, right? Like to get my first BattleTech game in, I actually had to drive out to Hinton to find someone at the time. This was about 6 years ago, who was willing to play with a new guy. Like at the time, the Edmonton community was pretty small and pretty insular. Like
Yep.
you basically had to know someone to get in. So I drove to Hinton, played a guy, met his basically brother-in-law at the time, and then was able to start playing with his group regularly after that. So I just love to play, man. I try and get things, since things have calmed down a little bit, I've tried to get, 2, 3, 4 games a week in right now, because, who knows when we'll be able to play again going forward. But it was a nice opportunity to go down, play some new guys, meet a lot of new players, and, be a little competitive with things.
Yeah, we really enjoy having new players, especially people that are willing to put a little bit of sacrifice in, and you definitely sound like one of our more dedicated players from some of our previous conversations. So, moving on to the next question. What does your team name represent? It's quite the mouthful for some players.
Oh, it definitely is. I know it's sure it's fun to put on all the league stuff. The Word of Blake is my preferred faction to play, just because playing the bad guys is always more fun.
Yeah, we're not going to hold that against you.
Oh, it's fine. My agent's ID, since I'm the Edmonton agent, is literally Clan Wolverine. That's my nickname.
Nice.
Yeah, I occasionally get myself in trouble with these things, but I just followed the Shadow Division nomenclature. So there's the 40th through the 54th Shadow Division in canon, and they're just numbered, and then their nickname is their commanding officer, and then like sort of a little little nom de plume with it too.
Okay.
So one of the campaigns I ran up here was it was a Dark Age campaign before they'd kind of fleshed out the end of the Dark Age and had the Ill Clan stuff, and it basically was. They were playing the remnants of the Word of Blake, basically as a reborn Opicus Venatori, and their commanding officer, basically that was going to be what was left of the Word of Blake was going to form into one Shadow Division going forward, and that's where I got the name and everything from.
Oh, that's awesome. Good, a little bit of thought behind it. I have about 3 different stable names that I use, and I pretty much just slap them on anything. Just from the 30 years of BattleTech I've been playing.
Yeah.
It's just, they just keep reoccurring. I even have reoccurring names for some of the pilots. So, and you'll find that with a lot of players that there's a lot of back history. That's one good thing about League, is that you're going to be able to talk to anybody who's been playing for any length of time, and they're going to have so many stories and so much background. It's almost like it really happened with how much some people hold on to it. How are you finding League so far?
It's been really nice to look at a different meta and different rules, because all the thought process that goes into forming the lists and like how you guys set up the what's on the faction list and everything says a lot about what people down here want to play and what they don't want to play. Because up in Edmonton, we're just starting to kind of get a bigger, wider community started. The little groups are starting to finally talk to each other and hopefully get some games in. And I've only really been able to do skirmish type games with one guy. Him and I have been playing every second week for 5 years in our spare time. So you have that personal meta where, okay, I know what 3 of the 5 mechs you're going to run all the time, but it's nice to see how a completely different thought process where, this group obviously has seen different things and played in different eras. And then it's, okay, this is a different way of looking at the game, right?
Yeah, for sure. It is. Every group has their own separate, different ways they like to play. There's even BV preferences.
Yes, exactly.
So, all right. So moving on to our 4th question, because we do have a bit of a limited amount of time here. What are your thoughts on the number of Wolverines in League, and why do you think we have so many of them?
I mean, I think that's just a factor of where we are timeline wise. There aren't a lot of really good mediums available, and I mean, you're going to see it's pretty much Wolverines, Hunchbacks. I'm trying to think if there's another medium that there's 2 of in League. I don't have the list in front of me right now. So it's just Wolverines are good. It's Wolverines and Hunchbacks are the big ones, and then some people go in for the deep cuts, like I did, but most people are going to stick to what they know.
No, I'm a big proponent of medium mechs. I like the fast guys with decent firepower, but the other thing is the Hunchback has had a special level of hate for me, because League seems to end up with an awful lot of the medium laser variants. Mm-hmm. And they drive me nuts, because every fight turns into a 6-hex knife fight with them around.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the 4Ps are nasty.
Yeah, I was even looking at upgrading my Centurion, and one of the options was a Hunchback, and I'm like, oh, if I take that, I'm never going to hear the end of it. So I probably won't be taking that. So to wrap up the final question, because like I said, we want to keep it inside of 6 minutes. Do you have any comments for your future opponents?
I do and I don't. I should be polite, and because I like to play everyone. My opponent the first week was a great sport and a really nice young man, But I mean, I'm here to win. I'm clearly here to prove the superiority of the North. I mean, I'm here to run roughshod over the Southerners and teach you guys how to play BattleTech. I mean, the only guy I know down there is Bruce, and I mean, he doesn't know which end of a Gauss rifle shoots. So,
Oh my goodness, I can't wait for him to hear this.
and you let him be the agent. So I mean, it's time to show you guys how real BattleTech works.
Right on. That is awesome. Thanks, Steven. That is great. You smack talked a guy who's not in league. That's perfect.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to have him come down here just for a promo game.
Oh yeah.
So,
I always love playing Bruce. It's a great time.
yeah, he is a great player. A lot of fun. And thanks so much, man.
Well, thanks so much for having me on.
Moving on, we're moving into the week 2 matches, which will be brought to us by Brett.
All right, starting off the wonderful world of us, we have the Clan Cobra Chickens after their first loss, facing off against the Blitzkrieg Jezebels, coming off of a tie.
I'll jump in on this one, Brett, since now I can actually comment on Blitzkrieg Jezebels. I'm going to say, I hate to do it again to you, John, this is going to be a really close match. Blitzkrieg is a hungry team. They fight hard, they make the occasional blunder, but they're going to lambaste you with those Gauss rifles. Your Clan Cobra Chickens are definitely hungry to win after that very close loss against Executive Outcomes. I'm going to call it a tie, only because I can't make a decision on this one because you guys are close. Anything you want to say on that, Brett?
I got a feeling we're going to see almost at least 1 to 2 ties every match this season, just because I think there's a bit of a learning curve with people getting used to how we do things and people that haven't played in 10 years or people who are only playing their second match. Alexander, for example, has only played 1 real lance-on-lance game. So there is some learning curve, but come the second half of the season, I don't think we'll see too many ties, but I think this is going to be one of them.
Yeah, I think it is. It's going to be a very close fight.
I think it's going to be like a 3-3 tie, though.
Yeah, they're going to crunch on each other quite a bit.
Moving on to the next game, we've got the 55th Shadow Division coming in with a throwdown versus the Carstairs Stables. Both of these players, from what I've observed, are here to have fun, blow stuff up, and just have a good, strong game. Tactics out of the start will be solid, and they'll see how the dice are rolling and where things go. Hopefully Carstairs can find the right entrance to the arena this time, as game 1, they had a bit of a mismatch and didn't set up properly, but that's part of the learning curve of how we do things.
Just looking at the score here, 55th Shadow Division is at the top of the league with 4 points for them, with only 2 mechs killed against them. The Carstairs Stables is coming in 4th place. There's a pretty big tie there for 4th. If I was to put money down on this, I'm going to say Carstairs Stables. They got a good lance. I think they're going to come in and really take it to the 55th Shadow Division. Jacques?
I'm going to go Carstairs too. I think they've got the advantage on this one. They're going to come out swinging.
All right, we're going to see if the Shitehawks have learned anything out of their first game when they face off against Macross Stables. Also coming in looking for some hot loving and a win to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stats again on this one, and both the Sheethawks, who struggled with a lot of the new league rules that they've never seen before, and this is probably their first game playing a lance all on their own. Macross Stables look like they stumbled a little bit, but I'm pretty sure they're going to come in a little bit stronger. My money's on Macross.
This one's going to be another tie. It's going to be a couple new players going at each other, trying to figure each other out, and they're going to fight it to a tie.
You know, at some point, Jacques, you're going to actually have to get off that fence. This is like the 6th tie in 2 game weeks.
Jacques just keeps hoping that they're the ones that pull it in.
Okay.
The next matchup is our Red Sun Irregulars. They went all out in their first match, losing 3 mechs, but killing 4. And the Crimson Ronin had a good showing themselves, dropping 2 mechs in their first outing. This is going to be a throwdown and just brawl, I believe.
Yeah, I see this being another 4-3 game. They're just going to absolutely roast each other. They have no problem throwing out a lot of damage, and they know their dice well enough to make sure that they're hammering on the opponent's mechs. Looking at wins, losses, I'm going to say Crimson Ronin pull it out 4-3.
I'm going to give this one to the Ronin as well. They're pretty good. They're hungry. This one's going to go to the Ronin. I don't know if it's going to be a high-scoring game, but it's going to go to the Ronin.
Alrighty, next up on the list, we've got Riston's Rogues. Jeff coming back after lots of experience, and myself with the Ghost Legion. Riston's Rogues tied. Ghost Legion went 1-0. I'm going to call this as a 17 or 18 round match.
For me, I'm going to say in this game, this is probably the game to watch, folks. Two veteran players who understand league rules, who are very good at picking their mechs. I'd have to toss this one up. As a matter of fact, I've got a coin right here that I'm going to do that with. We'll see how well my...
Not the only thing you can't do.
Jacques, aren't you usually in that position of picking up a coin?
Riston Rogues. Buy a tail.
This one is going to be ugly. This is going to be the level of ugly that you had between Executive Outcome and Cobra Chickens. This one's going to be another high-running rounds. Two veteran players. Everything's going to go by the numbers. Everything's going to go quick. The dust is going to be thick. The dust is going to be high. But at the end of it, it's going to be a 4-3 for the Rogues.
Ooh.
Good predictions. The next game, the first Clovis Lancers are coming up against the Draconis Spirits. All right, that looks like that should be a good game. That makes more sense now that both teams are eager to learn the rules and get comfortable with how things are done here.
Yeah, that's going to be another really good match. I think all they are this year. I don't see anybody who's going to be able to just completely run over anyone else. Just the new way that League does things, not new. This is a tried and true system. I'm not going to even put a bet on this. I'm going to call it a tie.
These rookies, they're the ones to watch for. Their veterans are good. Veterans watch their backs, but all it takes is a little bit of change in the luck, and then the rookies have got it. I'm going to give this one to the Lancers. Just off the top of my head. Might be wrong, might be right. Probably low scoring 2-1-0, 2-1.
I'm actually going to go the other way. I think the Draconis Spirits are going to go a little bit eager on this one, and they're going to pull out a 2-1 victory. Our next matchup is going to be Hubris Inc., and they are coming in against the Einherjar.
Yep, and you know what? I'm glad you were able to pronounce that. In this battle, we're seeing some skills are starting to come in on people, and one of the biggest ones is the Einherjar have taken steady hands on their Emperor to make those LBXs a little bit more accurate, a little bit more telling. I'm seeing an awful lot of floating criticals, head hits. My money's on the Einherjar being able to start shaking things up in League.
Oh, both teams are good. Hubris Inc., very good team, very good mix. Again, running the classics, can't beat that. But with the Einherjar, that steady hands is gonna make a difference. Has anybody seen if you've got any additional bonus to the number of munitions that strike your target, either be it through Narc or be it through the Artemis? That's what makes the difference between only a few and, oh, here, eat the entire pack, or here, eat the entire shell. I think that steady hands, if the Einherjar can connect with those LBXs, is going to be the outcome maker in this one. This one's going to the Viking boys. It's going to be close. It's probably going to be either a 3-2 or 2-1, but I'm giving it to the Einherjar.
I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's going to be either a 2-2 tie or a 3-2 victory, and that's just too close to call for either way. Next matchup is the Merrick Marauders versus the Cavalier Commandos. I'm going to go with Cavalier Commandos on this one, just because I believe those Capellan boys deserve a win.
Oh, yeah. Commandos all the way. Sorry, I'm cheering for the Cappies on this one. I'm going to see the Merricks get squashed.
I knew you were a Cappy lover. I knew it. You complained too much.
I think it's going to be a pretty low-scoring game, though. I think it's going to be probably 2-1 or a 3-2 game.
I have to admit, it's going to be close. I've been reading over the Cavalier Commandos mech choices. I purposely have not looked at their skills simply because they don't know mine at this point. Just to let you know, I upgraded the ER Large Laser on that Stalker, so you have some idea that I've got a little bit more range coming in. But it's going to be close. I've looked at the long-range firepower. We're within points of doing the same amount of damage, and our close-range firepower is very similar. So it's going to be a good game.
All right, we've got the Killer Bunnies eagerly facing off against the Executive Outcome. This is one of the few people that have approached us during the league or before league saying, I want a shot at that.
Yeah, I got to say, I haven't seen too many people who are actively eager to face off against a double league champion. and I think she's going to take it to him. I voted for executive outcome first game. This game, I think he's going to be surprised. And I think the Killer Bunnies are going to take a chunk out of his behind.
Yeah, you just voted against executive outcome because it was against me. This one's Killer Bunnies all the way. I'm going to give it to the Killer Bunnies, hands down. Might not be a high-scoring game, but it's going to be a lot of hippity-hoppity, get off my property. And I think the Bunnies are going to take it. 2-1, maybe 1-0.
I think it's going to come down to some good crit hits, some ammo rolls, and some just luck of the bunny. They call it a lucky rabbit's foot for a reason. I'm thinking it's going to be a 3-2 bunny win.
All right, well, that's awesome. Thank you, guys. That was a great show so far. Yeah, we asked for people to put in show names for our show this and every bye week. However, we didn't give you time to put anything in, so hopefully by the time we do show 3, we'll have a show name, and we'll try to get some soundtrack going on here as well.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We definitely enjoyed the feedback. I'm going to give it to Jacques for a little bit of yippity yappity at the end, and then I'll come back in. He doesn't get last say twice in a row.
It's so nice to be loved. All right, fight fans. That wraps it up for another week from us in the broadcast booth. Keep your heads on a swivel. Keep your money close. And of all things, stay away from the Canopian Battle Powder. See you next week.
All right, stable managers, you're much like herding cats. Make sure that you get those skill spends in on time. They are usually due by the Sunday after the game plays, so that there is time for anything to get reworked if you have any reworks. As Lee said, he's swapping out the ER large on his stalker for a clan ER large. We got a couple of people that are swapping out rides for different rides. And if you have any questions, concerns, or what exactly does this skill do, by all means, post it on the forums or reach out to us and we'd be happy to support that. We want everybody having a good time. And thank you, Solaris7. Good night.